Welcome back to the Garden Hutch. Today we are going to harvest some carrots and prep some spring beds to plant summer vegetables. Let's get going. As we've stated many times here on the channel, our overall goal is to be self-sustaining when it comes to our vegetables and our ag needs. So one of the ways that we do that is that we rotate our beds throughout the course of the year. So what we're going to kind of go over today a little bit is how we pull our carrots and then we prep them and then we put in a summer crop. And then what we're going to do is that bed we'll just let rest for the rest of the winter. So it's important to get the most food that you can out of your gardens, but you also want to make sure that you're a good curator for your gardening space. And a lot of that is just giving your beds, time to rest. If you continually plant and grow in them, you'll deplete the soil and it'll be really difficult to keep up the natural life in your soil that you need to be able to garden organically. Now, having said all that, if you don't care about the organic part of it, you can use chemical fertilizers and you can take a poor soil and make it something that plants will grow in relatively easily. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. We prefer to try to go as organic as possible, but if you want to use Miracle-Gro or any other chemical fertilizer, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So let's go ahead and take a look at clearing off the carrot bed first.
Welcome to the Garden Hutch, and as Jeremy was discussing, we are preparing this bed for our fall carrots. So today we're going to start pulling our existing carrots and kind of walk you through that process and show you what we do for that. And as you go through, you can see a lot of the carrot tops and you get ready to pull them up. And I just grab the base and just pull, and it comes out with a nice juicy carrot. And so we will go through and we'll pull pretty much all of this so it doesn't bolt. As the heat builds, these tend to go to seed pretty quick, and as you can tell, this one was getting ready to bolt. It didn't have a lot of space in there, so we had some offshoots here on the roots. But all in all, they look pretty healthy. There you go. That's a prime example of not enough space and too much heat. It's got little legs. So as you can tell, we got a lot of carrots. We had some friends that were interested in seeing the process, so of course we wanted to share, and we'll be eating on carrots for a few weeks, so we're super excited about this. And it's almost too many for me to hold, but thanks for joining us on this carrot journey, and we're super excited to show you what happens in the fall.
Well, thank you, Leslie, for helping us with the carrots today. What we'd like to show now is, now that our carrots are gone, all we've done is gone through and raked the garden, just broke up, the top 4 or 5 inches. I don't like to turn it too much so that we can keep whatever microbes and things that are alive in the soil, we can keep those in there. So we're going to put it like this, just make sure it's all nice and broken up. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to water it, and we are going to use a water soluble fertilizer. Anybody who watches the channel knows I like to use just a fish emulsion in a gallon of water. Actually, I'll probably use 2 in this little bed. Get it nice and damp, and then we'll go through and replant it. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and plant this raised bed. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in our candy corn. It's a really sweet corn. We like corn. We don't grow a whole lot of it because we don't eat a whole lot of it through the winter, but if we had more room, we probably would. So that's kind of what this experiment is about. This time of year, there's a lot of vegetables that you can plant. Of course, this isn't an exhaustive list, but a few things that you can still plant if you would like. We're going to put potatoes in here in a minute, so I'll show you that. Corn is a good one. You can still plant squashes. You can plant greens. Now, let me caution you with greens. If you plant purple top turnips, you're not going to get the root. The roots right now, they're not going to come up, or they're not going to form, I'm sorry. You can still get the greens though. So if you want to plant turnips to get greens, that's totally acceptable. And you can still do tomatoes, you can still do peppers. If you wanted something like ground cherries, you could start those now. Any of your summer vegetables should be fine. But for this video, I'm sorry, we're going to do candy corn and we're going to do potatoes in the old buckets. Okay, so what we've done here is we went in and put our candy corn in this bed. I spaced it about 6 inches each way. The whole idea is going to be to fit about 16 corn plants in here. So of course I overplanted, so that the goal being I'll thin it out and hopefully I'll have all the corn kind of where I want it to be. So we have 3 buckets this size here in our old garden, as we call it. So what I've done is, again, we've removed the pea plants. And what we want to do is I like to put my potatoes in just a little bit above my wrist. And that's not an exact measurement. I realize all of our hands are a little bit different. But the idea behind planting potatoes is when you put the potato in the ground, the only potatoes you're going to receive from this are going to be upward. So however deep you put it, only above that are going to be the areas that you can grow potatoes. So theoretically, the deeper you can put your potato in, the more potatoes you're going to get. So I've already dug a little hole, and I'll sit. You can see this little potato we let chit for about 7 days or so. It's got a lot of little eyes on it, as we call them around here, but the chitting process is super easy. And this is just a russet potato we picked up from the grocery store. So I will take this and I'm going to go a little bit deeper in here. And another important part of this is to make sure your soil is loose enough so that the tubers can form. So we're going to get down to about 2/3 of the way down. We'll take our tuber, put the side with the most numerous eyes up, and I want to wedge it in there, because what I don't want is a bunch of air pockets on the bottom of the potatoes. So now we're just going to take and we will cover this up. We don't want to hard pack the dirt on top here. What we'd like to do is just kind of put it in. We'll give it a gentle pat down so that as it grows in there, it won't have too much resistance, and hopefully we'll get more tubers. And then we will water it in, and you can see on the edges here, we probably have 2.5 inches left of room, and we have buckets of compost. So what we'll do is, once these plants get, I don't know, about 6 inches, 6-7 inches tall, we'll go through and we'll fill this bucket to the top with compost, and then we'll cover that compost with straw to help hold in some moisture, and hopefully all of that together will give us a little bumper crop end of October or so. As we mentioned earlier, you can still put in, squash and tomatoes and peppers and that sort of stuff. And you don't have to necessarily be pulling out your spring vegetables. This time of year, blight is really common for tomato plants. Cucumbers, you can plant cucumbers right now. If you have, like an infestation of whiteflies or cucumber beetles and it wipes out a bunch of the plants, throw some new seeds in, worst thing that can happen is you'll just get a later crop from those, So the reason I wanted to make this video is right now is a time of year where a lot of people get a bit discouraged because it starts getting hot. It's easy to forget to water, especially with this much heat. It's a really common time to start having infestations of different fungus or disease or bugs or whatever. Don't get discouraged. Don't panic. There are still plenty of things that you can plant. So I'd like to say thank you to all you folks that have made it here till the end. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like. If you have not, please consider subscribing to the channel. It goes a long way in assisting us in reaching our goals. Until next time, I hope that all you folks take care of yourselves. Peace.